Are you relocating to Northern Virginia and thinking about buying a home? Well, depending on where you're moving from, this region may offer a completely different style of home and buying process that you're accustomed to. So in this week's video, I'll share with you 7 things that surprise home buyers right here in Northern Virginia. So sit back, relax, because we're getting started right now. Hey everybody, it's David, your favorite realtor, and welcome back to another video. So this video is going to be from the perspective that you're relocating to Northern Virginia from another part of the country, because the homes here and actual home buying process is a lot different compared to other parts of the country. So these are going to be 7 of the most common surprises that I notice home buyers have who are relocating to Northern Virginia. So let's get it started right now with the first thing that surprises home buyers here in Northern Virginia, and that's going to be basements. So why would basements be a surprise? Well, the reason is a lot of parts of the country, basements are not the norm. I've helped a lot of people relocate from like Florida, Arizona, Texas, North Carolina, and only a very small percentage of homes in those areas actually have basements, much less finished basements. And if they do happen to have a basement, it's usually unfinished, cold, dark, basically just used for storage. You're never gonna go down there to hang out with your friends and family. But this is not the case with homes in Northern Virginia. Basements are extremely common here. In fact, 86.5% of all single family homes have a basement, and the majority of those are actually gonna be finished basements. So basements here, they're meant to be used. Just think of it as extra living space. I've been in basements where they have bars, movie theater rooms, poker rooms, full bedrooms, full bathrooms, in-home gyms, and so much more. So chances are, if you're buying a single family home here in Northern Virginia, you will have a basement, but I think it's a huge pro. So take advantage of the extra square footage that you and your family get to enjoy. Now the next thing that surprises home buyers here in Northern Virginia, that's gonna be HOA resale documents. So a lot of people who are relocating to Northern Virginia, they're either A, not a big fan of HOAs because maybe where they're coming from, they're not as common, or B, they've actually never lived in a neighborhood that actually has an HOA. However, the majority of homes here in Northern Virginia will have some sort of an HOA. And you may not know this, but one of the processes of selling a home with an HOA is the seller has to order the HOA resale documents. And these documents will have like the rules and regulations of the neighborhood, the financials, the amenities you have access to, and more. So when the seller orders the HOA docs, one of the steps of the process for the HOA is to come out to the home and do an exterior inspection looking for violations. And violations they find. And no seller is a fan of these HOA inspections. Basically, it's a way for the HOA to flex their muscles. And I've seen some extremely ridiculous violations on these HOA resale documents. I've seen Ring doorbell was a violation because that seller didn't have it approved by the HOA. How crazy is that? Everybody has a Ring doorbell. I've seen the grass was too tall. I've seen where the address numbers on the mailbox, they were too faded. In fact, I just got a ridiculous HOA violation this past weekend. It was a beautiful townhouse, had a very well-placed stone walkway in the backyard, and I got tagged as a violation because the sellers never got that approved by the HOA. Now, there are 2 pros when it comes to the HOA resale documents. First pro is all those violations that you see has to be remedied by the seller. So the seller has to get those items fixed, repaired, approved by the HOA, and then they have to deliver you a clear violations letter direct from the HOA. And the second pro is, once you as the buyer receive those resale documents from the seller, that gives you a 3-day window to cancel the contract for any reason with no penalty at all. Next on the list, Virginia is a buyer beware state. So what that means is it places all the responsibility of due diligence on you, the buyer, rather than the seller. In other words, you as the buyer, you have to do your homework on the property, do your inspections, look into the neighborhood, crime rate, all that stuff. Because anything that you don't find out about the property or even the neighborhood after you take possession of the house, well, that responsibility falls on you, the buyer, not the seller. So here in Virginia, there's very little disclosures that sellers have to provide. However, the main disclosure you're gonna find is called the residential property disclosure. That is signed by the seller ahead of time and then by the buyer at the time of the offer. And what this is a statement from the seller saying they make no warranties or representations about the condition of the property. So yes, here in Virginia, basically the sellers are disclosing that they have nothing to disclose. And that is completely different than other states. Like right next door in Maryland, it's a seller beware state, and sellers there basically have to disclose every single known item about the house. So when you actually buy a home there, you get a laundry list of disclosures. Now, the next thing that surprises home buyers here in Northern Virginia is there's way more townhomes and condos than single family homes. So this is gonna be one of the biggest differences with the style of homes here in Northern Virginia compared to other parts of the country, is how many townhomes and condos there are compared to single family homes. So if you take all the homes in the 4 major counties here in Northern Virginia, only 40% of those are gonna be single family homes. And most people relocating to Northern Virginia, they've never lived in a townhouse. And in fact, they may even have a negative view of townhomes. Maybe the state they're coming from, townhomes are maybe more for first-time home buyers, or maybe not in great neighborhoods or poor quality. However, that's not the case with townhomes and condos here in Northern Virginia. We have a lot of luxury townhomes, 4 levels, 3,000 square feet, rooftop terrace, and we have a lot of luxury condos as well. In fact, I personally live in a luxury condo. My condo's 2 levels, 2,500 square feet, all the bells and whistles, and a 1-car garage. And without question, a single family home is the most in-demand property here in the area. If I talk to 100 potential buyers, if you take budget aside, 95 of those 100 will choose a single family home versus a condo or townhouse. So since we have less single family homes available here, and it's the most in-demand property, that puts a huge premium on the sales price of single family homes. In fact, the average sales price of a single family home here is $962,000. I cannot believe you need almost $1 million just to buy the average single family home here in Northern Virginia. Now, the next thing that surprises home buyers here in Northern Virginia is we have a lot of older homes. So 58% of all the homes in Northern Virginia were built before the year 1990. Now, this will vary a lot depending on which part of Northern Virginia you're looking at, but a good rule of thumb is the closer you get to Washington, D.C., the older the homes tend to get. So if you look at Arlington County, which is right next to Washington, D.C., 73% of all the homes there were built before the year 1990. Now, if we go to Loudoun County, which is kind of known for much newer homes, only 27% of all the homes in Loudoun County were built before the year 1990. So yes, there's a lot of older homes here in the area. However, you can still find a lot of newer homes and new construction all throughout Northern Virginia. Speaking of new construction, next thing that surprises home buyers right here in Northern Virginia is new construction homes are substantially more expensive than resale properties. So there's always been a myth out there, not quite sure where it came from, but the myth is that new construction homes are more affordable than resale properties. And in some aspects, yes, they are. Obviously, with a new construction home, you're not worrying about having to replace the roof right away or replace the HVAC system a year later. So you have less repairs and maintenance to worry about. And also a lot of builders here in the area, they'll pay some or even all of your closing costs. So that'll be less cash out of pocket. However, it's a completely different story with the sales price. So let's look at the numbers for comparison. The median sales price of a resale property here in Northern Virginia is $650,000. Now let's look at the median sales price of a new construction home. That number jumps all the way up to $860,000. So it is 32% higher, or $210,000 more expensive to buy a new construction home compared to a resale property. So I was completely shocked when I saw this number. I always knew new construction was more expensive, but I didn't realize it was 32% more expensive. That's why when potential clients reach out to me and they say, hey David, I only want a new construction home, I always suggest, well, let's at least look at some resale properties, because you never know, you can find a very comparable home for $200,000 less than that new construction home. And I'm a big believer, if you're looking to buy a home, get the best value possible. Don't buy the most expensive home you can afford. Now, the next thing that surprises home buyers here in Northern Virginia is we are still in an extremely competitive housing market. So yes, even with 7% interest rates and home prices at all-time highs, we are still in an extremely competitive market, and the majority of homes that are hitting the market are selling the first weekend with multiple offers for above asking price. In fact, literally 5 days ago, this past weekend, I was in 3 multiple offer scenarios for 3 different sets of clients of mine, and all of these were in different counties, with Prince William, Loudoun, and Fairfax County. In all 3 scenarios, ended up getting at least 5 offers, and I know for a fact 2 of those 3 homes ended up going under contract for $50,000 above asking price. And the biggest issue here with our housing market is extreme low inventory. There's just way more buyers than sellers right now. So literally the criteria is just be a house, 4 walls and a roof, and it's gonna sell the first weekend. So yes, our housing market is very challenging and frustrating. So I always tell my clients this, just be patient. If you gotta rent for 6 months or even a year, that's completely fine. I'd much rather you rent for a year than overbid on a house that you just absolutely hate. So as you can see, there's a lot of differences with the style of homes here and the home buying process here. So if you're even thinking about relocating to Northern Virginia, reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me email. You know I got your back. And if you want to continue your research on what it's like to live right here in Northern Virginia, check out these videos right here. They're gonna be great resources for you. And I'll see you on the next video.